All right, so typically in an integral, we go from a to b of f of x dx. We are going to consider in this video what would happen if instead we switched that and we went from b to a. To do that, we're actually going to look at the limit definition of the integral. So in the limit definition of the integral, I'm just going to write it out quickly. We have change in x times f of a plus change in x. And really the place where the a to b or b to a comes in is the change in x and the starting at a. So let's consider where we get change in x. So change in x, hopefully we remember, if we call this a and we call this b, to get the width of each rectangle, we subtract the highest and the lowest. So b minus a divided by the number of rectangles tells us how big each rectangle is going to be. If instead we switch from going a to b, we switch and go from b to a, what we're going to do is just switch a to b in this equation right here. And we're going to get, instead of from b minus a minus b, which if we change the signs here, if we took out a negative sign, we'd have negative a and positive b, which we could write as b minus a over n. So what happens when we switch going from a to b to a, our change in x becomes negative. So it's the opposite of the change in x from a to b. So if I was going to write this from b to a in the same way, I would have I equals 0 to n minus 1 negative change in x times f of b minus change in x. Now, all this is telling me is that I'm going to start at b and I'm going to subtract my little x value to get to my next height of my rectangle. So that's not going to really change anything. But if I multiply each term by a negative number instead of a positive number, so in this case, I'm multiplying by the positive change in x, and in this case, I'm multiplying by the negative change in x, and also remembering that we could even just bring out this negative change in x. We could actually bring it all the way out in front of the limit because it's not affected by the summation or the limit. This equation right here is going to be negative wherever this equation is positive. So instead of going from a to b and getting a positive sum, if we just go in the opposite direction, because now our change in x is opposite, we just get the opposite sum.